Hi there. I had an insight a couple of years ago that knocked my socks off, and it changed everything in my life. So I'm going to share that with you today. That insight was into the nature of being human and how our human nature is essentially one of well-being, of wholeness and health. That our default setting, if you will, is wholeness and health, that's built in. That's what we're made of. Now, we're always having a human experience with ups and downs, so I'm not talking about achieving some kind of steady state of bliss. I don't believe that happens while we're in this lifetime. But what we can have, and what has happened for me, is that we can have an awareness and we can live as though that innate wholeness and well-being is so. We can remember that that's our nature. And here's what happens when we do. When we remember that we're essentially whole, we can not take quite so personally and not attach significance to those ups and downs. We can understand that those ups and downs are a human experience happening to us as spiritual beings. We don't have to get out of the human experience in order to be utterly safe, to be utterly home, to remember our innate well-being. And what happens when we remember that is that we tend to settle down, even in the midst of really difficult circumstances. And I'm sure if you reflect on your life, you will see times when you've been in difficult circumstances and yet you've experienced some peace, some perspective, some sense of well-being. Well, that's what I'm talking about, and that is always 100% of the time available to us. We may not feel it in the moment, but that's just like clouds obscuring the sun. The sun doesn't go away. Our well-being doesn't go away. Living in this understanding has revolutionized things for me. I used to get hijacked by moods. I'd have a couple of down days and suddenly I'm living in a story of depression. Or I'd get wrapped around the axle around launching a program, and I'd get really anxious and worried, and suddenly I've got a story about anxiety that could go on for weeks. But with this understanding about innate well-being and about how that persists throughout the ups and downs, what happens is I see those other emotional experiences as waves on the surface of a deep, profound ocean of wholeness. And that makes those experiences, those ups and downs, so much less significant. And when they're not significant, they move through. They tend not to persist. They don't hang around. And so I invite you this week to consider what I think you already know. And that's your own innate wholeness and well-being, your essential health. And to just reflect about how life changes when you take that as given. When you reflect, when you remember that that's the way it is throughout the ups and downs. Let me know what you notice in the comments. I look forward to reading them.